This is Patrick Bet-David, and today I want to speak to you about something that it took me a while to embrace in my business, but once I did, it completely took me to a whole different level. So I'm going to explain to you a couple different things before we get into this recording today. One is this. This is not a recording to listen to while you're driving because it will have very little effectiveness. The first time you listen to this, you must listen to this while taking notes in order for it to have any kind of an impact into your business. Let me explain why that is. For the longest time, when I got involved in this business here, I got involved in this business initially with a lot of wishful thinking. I was hoping I was going to land somebody. I was hoping I was going to get a leader that was going to build this business and I was going to override and I was going to become this millionaire financially free. And I was just kind of more coming from a place of being casual with my business. And then I will never, ever forget this. I remember one day very clearly, very, very clearly, when I was at the UCLA Medical Center. My father had a heart attack. He lost 40 pounds. And I was upstairs, and I was in there, not a fan of hospitals too much myself. And I saw him for a few minutes, and my dad knows I left upset. The whole staff there knew I left upset. I went downstairs to my car, and I got so furious with myself, so frustrated with myself. Here's why. Let me explain to you why. And I hope this inspires you to make the same exact decision in your life as well. I realized for the longest time I was winging life. I was being casual with life. I was being so comfortable with everything I was doing with my life. I'm talking about here I am in an industry. All I wanted was an opportunity and I'm doing nothing with it. I'm just being very, very casual with the business here. So I made a transition where I went from being this kid that was hoping this was going to work out. 24 years old, I can tell you the month when it was. It was August of 2003. And I said, you know what? I'm actually going to start getting serious about my life. I'm going to get serious about my business. I'm going to get serious about winning big. I'm going to get serious about really understanding what this business is all about. And by the way, 90 days later, when August we came together and we had a meeting with our guys and I had 3-4 people in the room and I called the team name. I said, our team name is the Story Builders and here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be making an impact. We're going to open up an office one day. We're going to go and open up our office with 30 people and all this stuff I said. I finally had bought into me being serious. And you want to know something? Here's what was so interesting. In that room, I had people from 19 years old who were one of my guys to a guy that was 45 years old, was a pastor. What they noticed was the fact that I was finally serious. And you know what tells you that? Your intentions, your preparations, and your eyes. It just tells you that. So my challenge to you is, I do not want you to listen to this recording as somebody that's just wanting to hope you're going to get a secret out of this recording because it's not going to do it for you. I want to challenge you to listen to this recording as a student who has made a decision from being very casual, from being very much into the wishful thinking of a place, or hopefully this will work out for me, to saying, you know what, Pat? I am finally making a decision to be serious and I want to be a student. So if you're going to do that, you will get the most out of this recording. But the first time you listen to it, you will need to have a paper and pen out to take notes on every single thing I'm going to be covering with you. Then second, third, fourth, fifth, 10 times, you can listen to it in the car to get you in the right state. But you need to be writing these notes down in order to transition and transfer a lot of this material into your business right away. Because when I did do that in August of 2003, September, October, November, I ran. 90 days later, I was a marketing director. I started off with 3-4 people. 90 days later, I was a marketing director. And I finally had my business start. December was an incredible Christmas for me. December 21st was an incredible day. That was on Paulette's birthday. It was my sister's birthday, and it was phenomenal. And then from there, we went to Hawaii the first time in February, and then my business really began the day I went from winging it to being a serious businessman. And I want to challenge you to do the same as well for you doing this business. So today we're going to talk about one thing together, you and I. We're going to be talking about how to go on a proper 90-day run, how to go on a 90-day run where you are not winging it, but you're being very prepared about it. So, at the end of the day, you're going to get the results you want by the end of your run, whatever your 90-day run will be. So first, let's start off by talking. I'm going to have about 30-something points here that I'll cover with you. But let's start off by talking about the first point. The first thing we must ask ourselves before anything gets started is, why are you going on this run? That's probably the most important thing. And I'll explain to you, for me, When I was going on my 90-day run, one thing you need to know about me is I'm not somebody with a Harvard degree or degree from USC, UCLA. I'm a very simple person, and if things are too complicated, I can't do it. It needs to be very simple for me because my mind is a simple mind. I can't be complicated. So sometimes I meet people that complicate things too much in their lives. You need to simplify things. So you got to go back and say, well, why are you going on a 90-day run? This is why I went on my initial 90-day run. My initial 90-day run was three things. One was I wanted to pay off my $49,000 of debt. I was just sick and tired of getting those calls, the 877 calls, the 888 calls, and then they're calling your sister because your phone is attached to this other person, and they're calling that person. My credit was terrible. It was in the 400s. I wanted to be debt-free. That was my number one. Number two was my sister, she got married, and I wanted to give a gift to her. I've never bought my sister a nice present, so I wanted to give a gift to my sister for what she's done for me as an older sister, as a family. I just wanted to give a nice gift to her for me. This is a selfish reason for me because I wanted to reward myself by getting a gift for Paulette and her husband, Siomak, on her birthday. So I wanted to get her a 7-day cruise for them to go celebrate their honeymoon that they never had. I wanted to make sure they had that opportunity to go out there in a nice place and celebrate that. The next one for me was being able to get my dad to no longer worry about money. It was very simple. I wanted my dad to be done with worrying about money. I no longer wanted us to go to a restaurant and my dad even take out a wallet or even the gesture. You know which gesture I'm talking about? When the right hand goes into your wallet and then another person says, I got this. I don't even want the right hand to go in the wallet anymore because I wanted to pay for it for the rest of his life. That's what I wanted to pay back to him. For my father bringing me to America and giving us my parents, for them bringing me to America, I no longer wanted them to ever have to worry about spending money on anything again on Patrick Bet-David. If they are, it's because they want to buy a gift for my wife or they want to buy a gift or something like that, that's fine. But I wanted to take it over. I wanted to send my dad all over the world. I wanted us to travel together. I wanted us to enjoy the last 10, 20, 30 years of our lives together with incredible memories. So I will forever cherish this. I want to forever remember these conversations. So these were my simple reasons. And I want you to know for you, you may be saying, well, but I'm a marketing director already. I'm an SMD already. I'm an EMD already. If you have already achieved some of these things, you need to now come up with a whole new list of three things because mine have always expanded. It went into wanting to have $150,000 in the bank, $250,000 in the bank, $500,000 in the bank. I remember the first time I had $25,000 in the bank. It was a celebration. I remember the first time I had $50K. You know, it could be a Harley, it could be a car, it could be a place you want to go to, but you got to have your reasons in place. For you, it may be your family, it may be your daughter, it may be your son, it may be your husband, it may be your wife. Your marriage may be rocky and you want to restore it. Maybe you made a promise to your wife to take her somewhere, Italy, Europe, somewhere you haven't done it. Maybe you want to go to New York on New Year's, even celebrate it. Whatever it is, you got to know, why are you going on this 90-day run? Is it financial? Is it freedom? Is it just the fact that you may have a loving family? Your husband loves you, your wife loves you, your kids love you, but you are not satisfied with yourself. The fact that deep down inside, you know you're so capable, but you've never really pushed hard to maximize your potential. So it's a personal victory. You're doing this for you. It's what you want to do, this to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm so proud of the decision you made and went out there and made your family proud. Second point of going on a run. Remember this. Let me give you a little bit of mindset of what I've learned about running. Fans, everybody in the world falls under two different categories. You're either a fan or you're a professional. All of us fall under these two categories. We're either a fan or a professional. Let me explain what I mean by this. Fans watch pros go on runs in their lives. Let me clarify that for you. A president becomes a president because he goes on a campaign. And by the way, it's not only one run. He may run for city council. He may run for mayor next. He may run for Congress next. He may run for senator next. He may run for governor next. Then he may run for vice president. Then he runs for president. So it's not as if he goes on his first run. They master runs. They master going out there shaking hands. They master going on meetings. It becomes days when they're tired. People rejected them. They went into a meeting and everybody opposed their views. You know, these people who become the statesmen or public service leaders that we see on television, they master going on runs. If you look at athletes go on runs. A football player goes on a 7-month run season. A baseball player plays 162 games in one season, not including preseason. So does basketball. So do Hollywood actors. Go away for 3 to 6 months to shoot a movie. I want to tell you a story about an actor that I really admire. His name is Daniel Day-Lewis. If you don't know who Daniel Day-Lewis is, you will know by the time I tell you the details about Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis just recently tied Jack Nicholson for the most Oscars won ever for a live actor today with 3. No one has more Oscars than these 2 actors. But there's a big difference between Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't do as many movies as the rest of them do. But when he does, he goes on a pure run. I mean, he does 1 movie a year. Some of these guys do 3-4 movies per year. He does 1 movie per year. But let me tell you some stories about this guy, Daniel Day-Lewis. You ever heard of the movie called My Left Foot? I don't know if you heard about My Left Foot. It was a movie about a character who was a cripple, and the only thing that he could use to write, he was a writer, he wrote with his left foot. And Daniel Day-Lewis was asked to play this role. You know what this guy did? For 6 months, nearly 6 months, he wanted to be carried around as if he was crippled, to understand what it was to be a cripple, as if he knew what it was to not be able to walk. He went into that role that much. You talk about when he played in the movie The Last of the Mohicans. I don't know if you've seen the movie Last of the Mohicans. It was a phenomenal movie. He was asked to be thrown in the jungle where he learned for 3 days how to make his own food, how to cook his own meal, how to do all of those things, how to create his own weapon, because he wanted to play that role and know what it felt to be the Last of the Mohicans. He recently played Lincoln. He played another movie called There Will Be Blood, which he won Oscar for that as well. When you think about these guys, by the way, for some that say, well, I don't really think he could have a good married, he's been with the same wife. They're still married because husband and wife decided, honey, I want to go on runs in my life because I want to max out my life. So you got to make a decision in life whether you're going to be a fan for the rest of your life or you're going to be a professional. Majority of my life, for 24 years, I was a fan. And then I finally made a decision to want to be a professional. I want to highly challenge you and encourage you for you to also decide to be a professional instead of just a spectator. Let's talk about point number 3. When you go on a run, you need to know exactly where you want to be by the end of the 90-day run. And by the way, as a leader, you need to make sure your leaders, your people that are running as well, they need to know, and you need to know what their goals are before the end of the 90-day run. For instance, your 90-day goal, maybe you want to be a marketing director. Maybe you want to be a senior vice president. You may want to be a $100,000 earner, a $250,000 earner. You want to be the number 1 base shop. You want to become a chairman's council. Whatever it may be, you need to know exactly what your outcome is at the end of the 90-day run. Point number 4. You also need to know what skills you need to improve in order to achieve this. Again, as a leader, you need to listen to this and see, okay, I got 3 people that are running for marketing director. What are areas they need to improve in? And you provide them the tools and the training in order for them to improve in those areas. So, but let's get back to number 4. It says, what skills do you need to improve in order to achieve these goals? Number 1, maybe it's phone call. Maybe it's leadership. Maybe you need to listen to leadership CDs and recordings to find out how you can become a better leader. Maybe it's about fast start. You're not very good at doing fast starts, and you need to listen to the fast start recordings that we have. Maybe it's sales skills. You need to listen to Tom Hopkins, How to Master the Art of Selling. Maybe it's about you don't have high expectations of your leaders up front. You don't have that much of an urgency. So you need to learn, how can I become more urgent? What can I do to become more urgent? Maybe it's you're not good at going wide, so you need to listen to the recording. How do I become better at becoming a better personal recruiter? Maybe it's about developing MDs. How do I develop MDs? So you listen to the recording. How do I develop other marketing directors on iTunes? How do you identify the next MDs? Maybe that's an area you need to improve in. Maybe it's helping close annuities or 401k rollovers or insurance, and you're not good at that. Maybe it's referrals. You're not good in the referral market, but you need to know what areas you need to improve in. You can't just go winging it, hoping this whole thing takes place. Again, let's go back to the recording of what I said. There's a phase where you need to go from winging it and just hoping things work out, having a wishful thinking, to being a serious professional, to being a serious person that wants to go out there and big. No longer being the amateur, no longer being somebody that's treating this as a hobby, really becoming a student and winning big. So point number 5, this goes exactly into point number 5. So now that you know what areas you need to improve in, the next point is, what are your plans to improve in those skills? For instance, if you may have said, I'm not very good in annuities, I'm not very good in rollovers. Well, what are you doing to improve in that? For instance, are you calling somebody who is good in annuities for you to learn? How are you doing that? Maybe somebody's good in insurance. You call them. How are you doing that? How do you get the sales that you get? How are you writing 50 policies per month? How are you getting 5 directs per month? How are you always qualifying for the 10% bonus? How did you promote so many marketing directors? How are you duplicating yourself? So you listen to the CDs, you listen to the iTunes recording. And then at the same time, what I used to do when I was an amateur, I was newer in the business, I found buddies with myself that we could practice, drill, rehearse. There was buddies of mine that we wanted to get better at phone calls, so we would role play calls. We would role play interviews. We would role play overcoming objections. We would role play how to do fast starts. We would role play different things, so we would improve. And he would go, I would go. He would go, I would go. And so it's good to have a practice, drill, rehearse, a buddy. And then the last thing with that area is if you want to improve those skills, ask your marketing director to say, hey, are you willing to watch my presentation and see if I've improved and give me some feedback? That's probably one of the last things you could do. Your marketing director first wants you to make sure you're using the tool. So if you were to come to me and say, hey, Pat, I want for you to watch me the presentation and see how I'm doing it, I would ask you the first question, how many times have you watched the DVDs? Who have you called so far? How many times have you listened to the recording? How many times have you done this? And if you show me that you put in the effort already to learn those areas, then I'm going to give you the time. And not only that, I'm going to take you more serious because you're taking your business more serious. Point number 6. Point number 6 is you need to know your numbers. And what I mean by this is, if you go on a run, let's just say if somebody's going to become a director or an MD or an SMD or an EMD or senior vice president, you need to know exactly what those numbers need to be. And what I mean by that is you need to know your recruits, the number of apps you need during that 90-day period, the number of points, how many licensed agents you need. Is this a base contest or a super base or super team? You need to know exactly those numbers to be in place. The next point, as a leader, you need to make sure your teammates who are running, your main key guys that are your running mates, also know their numbers. So not only do you need to know what you need with your numbers, for instance, knowing you always need to know also where you're at with your numbers. So on any given day, if I call you, if your marketing director calls you saying, where are you at? You need to have an answer for that. You need to be able to say, this is where we're at. This is how many things we did. If somebody would tell me, let me get back to you, I know where we're at as of 3 days ago, well, you're really not taking it serious yet. You're still hoping that you hit the run. It's still wishful thinking, but if you really want to know that you want to hit this run, you need to know exactly your numbers, where you're at. Couple other things to keep in mind about going on a run. You need to know your breakdowns with invites. So, if somebody wants to have 10 recruits in a month and you want to help this person become an FA because one of your new guys, one of your guys who is planning on going for marketing director, he needs 3 direct FAs and he has no FAs yet. He's an FA himself, but he doesn't have 3 direct FAs. So you need to show him how we can help 3 people become FAs. So 100 invites equals 30 people showing up, which is confirmed. 30 people show up, 10 get started. So I'm showing those numbers and saying if you want to become an FA, you need to have 100 guest invites in 1 month. You break it into 8 BOMs. That's about 12 to 13 per BOM. You do that, you're going to crack 10 recruits in a month, and we can help you get to FA. So then he needs to do that with 3 other people, right? But the point being, you need to know your numbers. Let me give you another number here about a run that's pretty simple is first month of the run, you hope you do 50% of the recruiting numbers. So if you're hitting marketing director and you need to do 50, 50, 100 the first month, you need to aim at 25 recruits. If you're running for SMD, it's 100 recruits. You need to do 50 recruits your first month. And then the last month of the run is 50 points. Too many times people do it the other way around. They get excited. They have a lot of points first month. Oh, we're going to hit it, but the recruit's low, and they don't hit their promotion. So the last month is 50% of production. If it's 400,000 points, you need to do $200,000. For 100,000 points, you need to do $50,000. By the way, for me, when I ran for my promotion, for us, we did 23 recruits our first month, and we did $49,000 our last month, which is very close to the 50% rule that we're talking about here. Number 7, let's talk about number 7. This is something that very rarely is talked about, but this will save you a ton of worrying and hoping you're going to hit it, where it's no longer about wishful thinking. It becomes clarity that, we are hitting our promotion here. Let me explain to you what this is. You need to know exactly the number of field trainers you need to have for your run. So let me elaborate what a field trainer is. A field trainer on my team is somebody who knows how to make a phone call. They know how to confirm an appointment, meaning making a phone call. Number 2, they know how to do a recruiting interview and get somebody to fill out their NAA. Number 3, they know how to do KTP, kitchen table presentation, get referrals and get results in the field. And number 4, they know how to do fast start. And fast starting a new recruit means they know how to get the new recruit to go in the field right away, consider the product if it's suitable, and last but not least, get their sprint award. If a person knows how to do those 4 things, they're on my list as a qualified field trainer. So the question you need to ask yourself is, how many qualified field trainers do you have today? Make that list as we're talking. How many do you have today? Is it 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20? And this will answer you what I'm about to cover with you next. So if you're going on an MD run, here's the exact number of field trainers you roughly need in order to hit MD. You need roughly 3 to 5 field trainers. By the way, if you want to increase the likelihood of hitting MD, go for 5. If it's 3, it's 3. You just need to know that 50% of the numbers need to come from you when you're running for marketing director on your personal pen. But for MD, you need 3 to 5 field trainers. By the way, for some of you that say, well, I have 3 to 5 field trainers, but they've never done 10,000 points in their month or 5,000 points in their month, or they've never, gone out there, done any of those things, they're not considered a 3 to 5, because if they were, they'd be getting those results. So it's not 3 to 5 licensed agents. It's 3 to 5 qualified field trainers. If you're going for SMD, you need 9 to 15 field trainers. If you're going for EMD, it's 18 to 30. So you want to make sure you're writing these things down to know exactly what you need. MD is 3 to 5, SMD is 9 to 15, EMD is 18 to 30, SVP is 27 to 45, EVP is 36 to 60, President's Council is 45 to 75 field trainers, and Chairman's Councils, you need 90 to 150 field trainers. Can you imagine, to become a Chairman's Council, you only need 90 to 150 field trainers? But that's literally the amount you need, 90 to 150 field trainers to become a Chairman's Council. So you need to know those numbers as well and take an inventory and say, I only have 2. Well, you got to hurry up and get your other 1 or 2 to help you out with the MD run, or it's going to be very, challenging for you to go out there and do everything by yourself. So the higher the number of field trainers, the easier the run will be to accomplish, as long as these guys know what they're doing. Number 8, lead with personal numbers. This is an automatic. If you lead from the front, everything kind of tends to work out. Most of the time, people try to manage only and hope their team does the production instead of leading and building. They try to manage a run. You don't manage a run. It's always a little bit ugly. It's weird. It's not predictable. It's always kind of funny how it works and who comes through, and you never know who's going to do the points or the recruits, and the guy you least expected does the most, or the gal that was the shyest person contributes the most. But what you can always control is knowing you are leading from the front. So getting in front of the BOM and saying, this week I got 2 personal recruits and I write 9 personal abs. This week I got 3 new business partners and I helped 7 different families. This week I wrote 17 different policies and I got 2 new recruits. This week I went in the field with this person, that person, this person, this person, that person. If you lead from the front, your team's going to follow and do the same as well. Another area I want to talk about with leading from the front. It's very important for you to have guests at BOMs. It's very, very important for you to have guests at BOMs, because having a guest is so simple. So think about it. So many times we complicate this business. You invite a guest to a BOM, the best BOM speaker is doing the BOM. You're inviting guests to the BOM, the best BOM speaker is doing the BOM. They're doing half the work for you. You're inviting, they're doing the work. So why wouldn't you take advantage of that? So the people that want to get to MD, SMD, their promotions faster, they have more guests at the BOM. And by the way, if you want to stay committed to this and be serious about it, if you miss a BOM with a guest, add it to the next BOM. Now you need to have 2 at the next BOM. But you got to stay accountable to your personal goals instead of winging it. Remember, going back to the same thing we talked about initially, is being serious about winning big, because deep down inside, you know you were meant to do something big. You know you are capable of doing something big. But hopefully you have finally made a decision to be serious about getting these results for yourself. So you need to have a guest at every single BOM. And if you do that, your team's going to follow suit and great things will happen. Higher possibility, higher potential of finding somebody to be working with. Number 9, go on a personal recruiting blitz. I'm talking you personally, go get 5 personal recruits. Go get 10 personal recruits. Go get 15 personal recruits. The chances of you hitting your promotion goes to a whole different level if you personally go out and get a ton of personal recruits. So go on a personal recruiting blitz and challenge everybody in your office to go on a personal recruiting blitz. By the way, if you tell them to go on it and you're not yourself, it doesn't work that way. You need to tell them to go on it by you saying, I got 3 this month. I got 5 this month. I got 4 this month. And they'll follow suit and do the same. Next, So expectation for the number of appointments being run on a weekly basis. If you're a part-timer, on a run, minimum 8 appointments a week. If you're a full-timer, going on a run, minimum 20 appointments a week. Again, this is all hoping you are serious about winning big. It's not about somebody that's just listening to this recording in the car, not writing these things down. You are still hoping this thing works for you, and you're not really too concerned about duplicating it yet. It's just kind of like, I hope this eventually works out for me. I'm talking about you are becoming a student, and you're listening to this to get better at it. 8 appointments part-time, 20 appointments as a full-timer. So remember, this is a run. This is not a regular thing. You're on a run. You are on a run to go out there and get better than ever. You're on a run to go out there and get a certain victory. So let me explain what my schedule was when I went on my MD run. I went from part-time to full-time. I worked at Bally Total Fitness at that time. Bally's doesn't exist anymore. They were bought out by LA Fitness. But at that time in 03, I was still working at Bally's. I was a morning manager at Hollywood, and I lived in Granada Hills. If you don't know the distance, it's about 30-mile difference, 25-mile difference from Hollywood, Granada Hills to Hollywood. And I worked 4 o'clock in the morning is when I had to get up and go there because I opened the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I worked 5 o'clock till 2 o'clock was my schedule. And I would leave, come home, change, go straight to the office. I'd grab a bike, go straight to the office, and then I would run appointments. And I would run appointments till late, and my favorite days of the week were Saturdays. Favorite days of the week were Saturdays. And I watched so many, by the way, Saturdays was the separator. So many people would leave early on Saturdays, and I was confused. I would say, wait a minute, you just got up on stage and you said you want to win for your wife and kids, yet every single Saturday I watch you leave at 1 o'clock right after the BOM. Are you just saying it? I just want to be aligned. I want to win big for myself. And I saw, this is the part when you get serious, you'll notice why some don't win. You'll be able to pinpoint somebody and say, no wonder that guy's not winning, even though he's better than you, even though he's more polished than you, even though he comes from a better market, even though he's got all the degrees, but he's not willing to get serious about the things during a run to win big. So you need to have a schedule in place, but your minimum needs to be 8 appointments part-time, 20 appointments as a full-timer. I even on my run sometimes did BOMs on Sundays. I'd be running BOMs at churches or different places on Sundays as well during a run. So point number 11. Have a schedule and stick to it. Have a schedule and stick to it. Let me explain what I mean by that. So if you have a schedule, and let's just say your 3 appointments at night cancel, don't go home and say, I'm going to go home and watch SportsCenter. I'm going to go home and watch American Idol. I'm going to go home and because I'm tired, because I'm this. Well, then you are justifying why you deserve to go home because you are tired and all these other things. And that's taking more weight and more value for you than you're really finding out about your true potential, about you really finding out what it is that you have, your capacity to go out there and fully figure out what is this person capable of if I give everything I got? What am I really capable of? So if your appointments cancel, which they will, appointments will cancel, replace appointments. Go see somebody. Make phone calls. Don't, and sometimes you may get a call from your spouse or somebody say, come home, let's do this. And you need to remind and say, honey, we made a decision. We're winning big here. We made a decision. This is a run, honey. I want to come home so bad and see you, but I'm making phone calls. We're doing this thing together. And by the way, many, many cases, when your spouse finally sees how serious you are about winning, you know what many times they'll do? They'll come to the office with the kids. They'll come to the office and say, honey, how can we help you out? How can we help you make appointments? Who can we call here? Have you called this person? You may say, honey, can you just call some of the spouses and, talk to the relationships? Or can you call this person's wife and maybe go out there with a coffee? Can you call that person? Can you call this? Have we called Mary? Let me ask that person. That person got laid off. I think they have a 401k that we're talking about. Once your family sees that you are really serious, you're not just saying this, then they get involved in many cases and start helping you out as well. Number 12, environment. One of the most important things on a run is for you to create an environment that people just want to belong to. So during a run, the meetings need to get bigger and bigger and bigger associate count, higher guest count, more energy, more intensity, more excitement. And the reason why attendance is so important on runs is because it gives you more of an opportunity to find that rabbit. It gives you more of an opportunity for you to find out one person that's going to come in and recruit 50 people their first month. They're going to come in and recruit 28 people their first month. They're going to come in and go out there and generate 35 personal policies their first month. They're going to come in and recruit and build 3 direct FAs their first month. It gives you a higher chance if the associate count, the attendance is going up, the guest count is going up. So a lot of focus on meeting attendance, that environment. So what it did for me is, I used the environment and the office. Here's how I used it. Every time we went on a run, this is how I used it. This is my way of finding out who is the hungriest in my group. Every time we go, it doesn't matter what run it is now. We have offices all across the country, all over the place. I watch very closely on who wants it the most. This is when I learn who's the most competitive person in my office, in my group, in my organization, in my hierarchy. Who just wants to win so bad? Who's got the biggest heart? Who's that one, lady or guy that's quiet, shy, doesn't say much, but all of a sudden, boom, we see a side we've never seen before, and they want to contribute so much. Who's the best fighter? Who's the person who wants to win more than the rest? But every time on a run, this is so interesting here. On a run, you will really find out who the real leaders are. On a run, you will really find out who the leaders are, because you find out if a person's a real leader or not when they start facing challenges, issues, pressure. Diamonds built through pressure, right? So you really find out, how does this person, how does he react when there's a lot of pressure? How does this group react when there's a lot of pressure? For the longest time of my life, folks, let me tell you, when there was a lot of pressure, you're kind of sitting there saying, what am I going to do? I'm not a leader. I didn't raise in a family with my last name being Kennedy or Vanderbilt or Gates or Jobs. I didn't come from a family where maybe I'm around leaders all the time and I've been taught about etiquette, all these things. So many of it, for you're going to need to learn about yourself when you're on a run. You really find out if you really are going to fight or not. You're really going to, it's so much easier to throw in the towel. It's so much easier to go home and convince yourself why you deserve to go home and relax. It's so much easier to go out there and be casual. It's so much easier to not win big. It's so much easier to be average. It's so much easier to be average and ordinary. My goodness, it's so much easier. But also, here's the opposite thing. It's so annoying to know how close you were on living your potential and fulfilling your potential. It's one of the scariest things to know you never really fully reached your potential. Never really reach your full potential. And you know what's amazing? I want to talk to you real quick. Here, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to everyone. I'm talking to you here. You know deep down inside you're capable. You know you are. You know deep down inside God put you here for something big. You know when you're driving by yourself and you're arguing with yourself or you're arguing with somebody who isn't there, and deep down inside you get upset with yourself because you're so capable of doing something big. You've just never really committed to something long term. You've never really given everything you got to one thing. You know you're capable. You know it. I'm not telling you this right now to try to convince you. You know deep down inside you're capable. And this is your opportunity to prove to yourself, you know what? I may have never fought. I may have given up all my life. But you know what? I will no longer give up anymore. I'm officially a fighter now. Boom. You're introduced to a person you've never met before. Point number 13. This is very important to not wait for anyone to come to see you. So don't wait for them. Sometimes, oh my goodness, they live an hour and a half away. Go see them, because you never know. That person could introduce you to their next door neighbor that has a $300,000 rollover to do. But don't wait for them to come to you. If you're on a call and they're on the other line with their uncle and they say, hey, my uncle wants to know, can you do it tomorrow or the next week? And you say, three-way your uncle in. And they three-way the uncle and talk to the uncle right there. Don't wait for them to come see you. Do it now. Get into the attitude of saying, hey, Billy, can we meet in the next 15 minutes? I'll meet you. Where are you? I'm going to come and meet you. Call your cousin and say, is he available in the next 15 minutes? Let's meet him. Bring him to the office. Let's go to coffee. Let's go to their house. Make it a habit of not waiting for people to come see you. You go see them. Point number 14. Drop by intensive. It's when you're on a run, it's you're going to them. It's got a lot to do with point number 13 when I said don't wait for them to come to you, but drop by intensive. If you have no appointments, just drop by people. Drop by the new associate's house. Drop by the new associate's house that you haven't met the spouse. Go say hi to the spouse. Go meet the kids. Go meet the family. Maybe have a couple friends over and just go say hi to a couple friends. And if you're even, wanting to test your leadership to get better with expectation, maybe say, why don't we make a few phone calls right now? I want to help you with your promotion. Let's talk to a few people. Do you have any neighbors here? Yeah, I do. Why don't you call Larry? I'll come. Let me call Larry. Larry comes over. Let's see Larry. You tell Larry, bring your wife. His wife gets excited. Here, let's talk about the business here. Here's what we're doing. Here's where Bobby's going. Bobby's planning on doing this business because he's planning on going full-time within the next 3 to 6 months. Hey, you know what? Hey, Larry, do you have anybody you want to? Yeah, I do. Who lives in the community? Call your brother. Have him come over. You see this element of you not waiting. There is a trend with winners. They don't wait. Steve Jobs once said, they asked him, how did you get a hold of all these other people you speak to, these partnerships? You know what he said? He says, very simple. I picked up the phone and called. He says, what do you mean you picked up the phone and called? He says, I picked up the phone and called, Pepsi, and I said, I want to speak to Peter Scully. I want to speak to John Scully. Who are you? I am Steve Jobs. Can you imagine the receptionist? So these guys that do big things in their lives, they don't wait for the perfect opportunity. They have a certain level of urgency. So drop-bys has a lot to do with that. Next point, point number 15. Create a brand spanking new top 100 list and commit to adding 2 new names to that list on a daily basis. 2 new names could be from prospects. It could be from someone send you a message on Facebook, social media, but 2 new names you add to that list on a daily basis that you have their telephone numbers. And, you could go back to your family and ask your mother, your dad, your brother, sister for referrals again. You ask for your friends for referrals again, but create a brand spanking new top 100 list. Point number 16, meet with your marketing director to go through your plan. So I talked about it earlier when I said go back and see the areas that you can improve. And this is different. This is about put a plan together for your next 90 days and go talk to your marketing director. Say, how do you feel about that plan? Get some suggestions, get some feedback. And by the way, when many times people would come to my office and they would say, Pat, I want to go through my plan with you. You know what I was doing? I was sizing them up to see if there's somebody for me to work with or not. I was watching them closely to see if this is somebody I should put my time into or not. I was watching them to say, maybe this is a guy I need to work with. Man, he seems very impressive. He seems very solid. I like what he's talking about. I've never spent time with him, and look how much time. He's using tools. He's listening to the DVDs. He's making an effort. I like his personality. So this is an area where you all of a sudden say, you know what? I want to work with you. So if you're going to go to your marketing director with a plan, and you really are prepared and serious, you may have the marketing director all of a sudden start locking onto you and start working with you. Point number 17. Point number 17 is something that's very, 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 very important. I briefly talked about it at the beginning when I said, why are you going on a run, right? When I said, know exactly why you're running. Point number 17 is, how will you reward yourself if you hit your goal? For the longest time of my life till today, I use a reward punishment program. If I do something, I reward myself. If I don't get it. And it's very simple. If I want to buy something for myself or I want to reward myself in a certain way, if I hit the goal, I'm going to go out there and get it for myself. If I don't, I'm not going to do it. If it's a sporting event, if it's whatever it is, for me to do that. So how will you reward yourself? Is it taking your family out to a trip? Is it going to qualifying for Cancun? Is it qualifying for a company trip that's being announced right now? But how are you going to reward yourself with this? Maybe companies announced Hawaii. Maybe they've announced Italy. Maybe they've announced Australia. Maybe they announced Tahiti or Europe or Greece or Brazil or China or Dubai. What are you going to do to qualify for these things? Because I remember outside of the first 3 things I wrote down, once I became a marketing director, the next thing was, if I hit $100,000 income in a 12-month rolling, I'm going to New York New Year's Eve, getting a hotel right in front of the ball because I want to watch the ball drop and do the countdown in New York. And I want to spend $3,000 for clothes. And that's exactly what I did. I said, and I went December 29th and came back January 2nd. It was 4 days, plenty of time. Did it in a time when it was not during a run, and I didn't want it to distract my business. Perfect timing. Went, had a good time, came back. Another one was I said, if we hit a certain number and a certain commitment, I want to go to Guatemala and see Tikal. So a friend of mine that was part of our business, his dream was to go back to Tikal, which is in Guatemala. It's one of the lost cities. It's kind of like Machu Picchu if you look up Tikal. And he said, I'm going to go back there and give away a bunch of Bibles, toothpaste, toothbrush. And that's exactly what we did. We went December 26th, and I came back December 30th. So it was perfect timing where I celebrated Christmas with my family, and I was still in town for New Year's with my family. And we went during that time, and it was very interesting when we got there. I mean, everybody was at the airport. They had these big signs, TSP, Buenvenidos. And we went and spoke at a couple of churches. We had an incredible time in Tikal. But that was part of a reward. That's what I was going to do when I hit my run on November 30th. We said, we're going to Tikal. Another time was when I said, if you get $150,000 in a bank, you're going to buy yourself a brand spanking new S600. You're going to get yourself an S600. So I bought an S600. I said, if I get $250,000, I'm going to buy myself a Harley Davidson Night Rod Special. That's what I bought. I bought a Harley Davidson Night Rod Special. Another one was Escalade. Another one was certain Corvette, Z06, all of these things is how are you going to reward yourself if you do this? Point number 18. Have your goals written everywhere for you to see it. Have your goals written everywhere for you to see it. It doesn't matter if it's in the car, in the bathroom, laminated for you to see every time you take a shower, taped to the mirror for you to see, your family city on the refrigerator, whatever it is that everybody can see and you can see on a daily basis. Have your goals written everywhere for you to see. Sounds hokey, but it's so effective. Again, we're going back to the points I made. You can listen to these as a pro or you can listen to this as a fan. You can listen to this as a fan and say, well, I hope this works. I hope this. Or you can be serious and say, I have made a decision to win big in my life. And these are things that are effective and they work. Number 19. This is probably something that's the most difficult to do, but it's also psychologically, it has one of the biggest effects on you. What are you willing to give up during this 90-day goal in order for you to attain your goal? So what are we talking about? It could be no TV for 90 days. Yeah, you could literally be no TV for 90 days. You're not watching any shows. You're not listening to any music in your car. You're just listening to personal development CDs. That's what you're listening to in your car. No bowling league, no tennis league, no whatever it is. No golfing during that 90-day run. You are making a run. You are making a decision that instead of 15 things that I got going on in my life, I'm cutting it down to 3 things. Faith, family, business. This is what I'm going to be focused on the next 90 days. And you take all the distractions out, and you will be shocked on what happens when you put the focus on less things in life, right? So what are you willing to give up? By the way, this is also one of the questions you got to ask your teammates. What are they willing to give up? What is your new guy that wants to become a marketing director willing to give up? Are you fully willing to give that up? Are you fully willing to get away from TV, or you have to watch your games? You have to watch your Miami Heat games. You have to watch your, certain commitments to shows you have and all this other stuff. You see, that's the part. That's the part that these guys are willing to give up, who are willing to win big and do something that they've never done before. Number 20. Why it's worth paying the price. It's a little bit different because you need to know, let's just say you don't run. So hypothetically, you're listening to this recording and you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, do I really want to go out there and be a politician? Do I want to be the president? I want to be like the LeBron James, the Kobe. Do I want to go out there and run for 90 days? Oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Okay, so what's your alternative? So what are you accepting as the alternative? So you don't do this. You don't do this at all. You decide to stay at your job and you have a good job. Things are okay. Things are normal. You don't do this. What is your alternative? Is that what you're going to do? What's the potential of the alternative of what you're doing? Is it going to give you the best life you want? Is it going to give you the best life with your kids? I got kids. I got one on the way. I got one right now. And let me tell you, I want to give this kid a good life. I want him to see his father. I want him to be around his father. I want us to travel together. But I also want him to know that, daddy's doing something big with the family. I want him to know that there's going to be some kind of work to be involved in it. I want him to learn about earning. I want him to see the world with daddy. I want us to go to games together. I want us to go all over the world together. I want him to go to the best schools. And you know what? So do you. You do as well. But what if you don't go on this 90-day run? What if you just say, I don't know about this? What if you question and say, I don't know about this. I'm just going to go back to my normal life. What is your alternative? So you need to remind yourself why it's worth paying the price fully up front. Point number 21. Sit down with your family and cover why you're doing this. It's so important to talk to your wife. So many say, I don't need to talk to my wife because I'm the man. Let me tell you, your family needs to know why you're doing this. And they need to be involved. So your son may say, Dad, what are we going to get in my end of 90-day run? So let your son be involved. Let your daughter be involved. Let your wife be involved. Now maybe your mother and your dad are helping you. Let them be involved. Let them help you out. And I say, listen, at the end of this, Mom, what if I send you to a spa all day long? If you help me with 10 new business partners. Dad, I know you don't want to do this, but Dad, if you help me out with 10 new business partners, we'll go to a game together. I promise. Christmas Day, we're going to a game together. These are the things you do to get your family involved sometimes, to help you out. Son, if we do this and we hit this thing and they're holding you accountable, here's what we're going to do on this trip. We're going to go to your favorite museum. We're going to go to your favorite stadium. We're going to go. Are we really that? Yes, we are. But it needs to be a family conversation because everybody in the family is going to win from this victory here. Number 12. So number 12 is the one meeting that you need to have before the run. Normally it'll happen, let's just say you run September, October, November, or March, April, May. It'll normally be the last Saturday of February or the last Saturday of August, or the last Tuesday, of August, that weekday where everybody can get together. It could be the 30th, the 31st, the 29th. It's got to be that meeting that you have that everybody gets together and you hold that meeting, right? Now, here's what you talk about on that day. The goal is to unify the entire team. Everybody comes on the same page. Here's what we're running for. You're going to have some other people that's going to get up and they're going to talk, but you're going to unify and you're going to simplify. Things are going to go to the basics. So some of the points that we're talking about here today, you may speak about these points on that day. You may have everybody in the month of August or in the month of February listen to this recording to know exactly what happens when we go on a run together, right? And then once you unify, once you simplify, you simply multiply. And that's all you do. You multiply. Your team goes from 10 people, 20 people, 40 people, 80 people, 160 people. You multiply your team. That's how this thing's supposed to work out. And this meeting that you have, you got to be prepared on what you want to talk about. So a lot of this recording will help you out. And I remember one time I had one of my guys who kept going on a run, and he went 3 times on an MD run and he never hit it. I was so curious, and his team never wanted to help him get to MD. So one day when he was going on his last run, I asked him, I said, I snuck up on the meeting and I kind of listened through the door to see what he was saying to his 10, 11 guys. And I'll never forget what he was saying. He said, you guys got to help me get to MD. I deserve it. I've done so much for you guys. I mean, I work my butt off for you guys and ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And, I sat there and I said, oh my goodness, no one's going to run for this guy. No one's going to run for this guy. No one's going to go out there and help this guy become a marketing director. It's just not going to happen. So we had a conversation together. Once he realized, listen, instead of focusing on getting your guys to want to help you get to your promotion, why don't you talk to them about getting to their promotion? Why don't you help them get to FA? Why don't you help them get to director? Why don't you focus on them getting to their next promotion? Why don't you focus on doing it with, working it with them? Why don't you go out there and sit down with them and talk to them about that? Because the reality is, think about your team right now that you have. You're 10 people, you're 15 people, you're 50 people, you're 100 people. What would happen if everybody moved up one promotion? Think about that question one more time. What would happen if everybody on your team moved up one promotion? What would your business look like in 90 days? For instance, stay with me here. If your trainees all went to associate, so that means you got 20 trainees, all became associates. How many sales is that? That's 20 times 3. That's 60 recruits, 60 sales, $60,000. How about if you have 5 associates that all went to FA? That's 10, 10, 10. That's 50 recruits, 50 sales, $50,000. How about if you have 3 FAs that go to director? Do you kind of get the drift here? That's really the business. This thing is so simple. On a run, take everybody up on one promotion. It's really all you need to do. Take everybody up on one promotion. So, and by the way, going back on this meeting that we're talking about, if anybody's going to talk about your promotion, your team can talk about your promotion, your sidelines can talk about your promotion, your upline can talk about your promotion, except you can't talk about your promotion. You can only talk about their promotion, and you can talk about your leader's promotion, whoever's above you. And you need to remind yourself of that regularly. Now, here's also another thing about this meeting that needs to happen, this kickoff meeting. People need to get up and they need to all declare their intentions. The higher the responsibility, the more it is. I mean, we would have a board on the wall and people would go. It'd be a direct MD category, it'd be a director category, it'd be an FA category, it'd be an associate category. And one by one, people would come up in front of everybody, sign their name with a date on when they're going to hit their promotion and what they're willing to give up. Everybody will write down the one thing they're willing to give up. I'm willing to give up TV. I'm willing to give up and I'm willing to commit to this. And everybody declares their intentions publicly. By the way, the one thing about this meeting, the spouses need to be at that meeting. The spouses need to be at that meeting. These were meetings where I wanted all of my couples to have their spouses there. Because if the spouses see why we're doing this together, if the husband and wife realize this is really for the two of you to have victory together, to qualify for the trips, to become financially free. So this meeting needs to be having the spouses there as well, right? So you make that board, people write, and what they're willing to sacrifice. So a lot of that becomes the culture you're talking about. A lot of that becomes the culture you're creating with your teammates on what happens with that. Let's talk about the next point here. 23 is phone zone. It doesn't matter whether you do phone zones on Monday nights, on Saturday afternoons, or if you do them on Sunday nights. I've done all 3 nights with my team. My team was small. We did it Sunday nights. Then my team was a little bit bigger, we did a Saturday after BOM. So my team got big, we did it on Monday nights. We've done it on all three of those nights. But phone zone is very, very important to have. And now, what do you do for some of you that are saying, for you, if you're thinking, well, I have 6 offices, I have 5 offices, I have 4 offices. Well, during those kinds of situations, they call in and they say, Pat, we booked 95 appointments and the top inviter was Joey. He booked 17 appointments. So I would get calls from 5 different offices. We would send a voice tel recognizing the teams that booked the most appointments, and people were sending calls to each other and calls on voice tel, and this is how many we booked, and we would rank the top 5 inviters and we'd send it out there in a text message or voice tel to everybody. So if you got multiple offices, this is when, as a leader, if you're driving a hierarchy, if you have more than 5 MDs, more than multiple offices, this is when you're driving multiple offices together to get victory together, right? So, but phone zone needs to happen. There needs to be a drive for booking appointments. Number 24. Let's talk about number 24. 24 is an exciting topic to talk about because this is a game changer. If you think about any organization, think about Miami Heat. Every organization has a flag carrier. So Miami Heat's flag carrier was Dwayne Wade for the longest time. He won him a championship, right? Flag carriers recruit other flag carriers. So who joined them? LeBron James came, Chris Bosh came. They won 2 championships together. Dwayne Wade's got 3 of them. Look at the Lakers. They have flag carriers. Look at the New York Yankees. Derek Jeter is a flag carrier. You look at somebody who goes on a campaign or goes out there and hits a presidential promotion, right? Or it becomes a president or a senator or a governor. They have flag carriers. There's always a lot of victories for flag carriers. Look at Ulysses S. Grant. He helped Lincoln doing what he did. He needed a flag carrier. You know what Lincoln did in return? He helped him become a president. He became his flag carrier, right? Flag carriers always win. So, but a lot of times, many times you're looking for a flag carrier, but you're not a flag carrier. And normally flag carriers are found when the leader is a flag carrier because they mimic the leader who's a flag carrier. So for instance, if you're directed to the company, you become the flag carrier of what the company wants to hit. Now, what if you're direct to one of our leaders? You do whatever you can to help be the flag carrier of what that leader's promotion is. And the company, right? You become a flag carrier of that. So it becomes a push-pull principle. You are pushing your leader up while your leader is pulling you up. But there's a very important dynamic that you need to keep in mind. If you don't push the company up, they don't push you up. If you don't push your leader up, they don't push you up. Flag carriers simply are born in an environment when there's other flag carriers. Let's talk about the next one here. Next point I want to talk to you about is having a plan. Point number 5, having a plan for this 90-day run. And what I mean by having a plan is you need to have a super BOM, where it's a super BOM with a ton of guests at this meeting, hundreds of guests at this meeting. For smaller offices, 75 guests at this meeting. Guest speaker comes in and they do a BOM. It could be the last week of the week prior to the run beginning. It could be, August 25th. It could be February 23rd. You have a super BOM to kick off with all these guests, follow-ups, all of those things that you're doing. The next thing is you need to have a super phone zone. Super phone zone is when everybody comes in, and it's also during about the same time there that you're doing this with, right? It could be a week prior to that, or it could be a week prior to the entire run you're having. But you have a super phone zone. Potluck, food, fun, music, prizes, excitement, everybody's celebration, shirts, all these things you're doing together at this phone zone to get the whole thing kicked off. You need to plan a playbook school that'll happen normally in the midway of the run. So if you're running September, October, November, the playbook school will happen right in the middle of October or 3rd week of October. If you're running March, April, May, the playbook school will be right in the middle of April or 3rd week of April. And what you do during that time is you get people re-engaged, because many times people by that time don't believe they can hit their run. They don't believe they can do it. They're sitting there, they're doubting it. I don't know if I'm going to hit it. I'm off by way too many recruits, way too many sales, way too many points, and they're really not. But they need that meeting for all of us to re-engage together, give recognition, give message, have sideline people come up to talk about runs, their runs, everybody's runs, and boom, focused again for the next 6 weeks to go finish off the run. Point number 26 is licensing intensive, and this is very simple. It's having somebody who's willing to volunteer in your office to help people get licensed. During when you run for something, there are people that are going to volunteer to hold accountability for numbers, where everybody knows every day where people are at with numbers. A voice tell is being sent out to the leader every day, and you forward that voice tell to everybody. A text message is sent out to everybody and where they're at with one person's calling everybody to get those accountability. Or that one person's getting people to call them and say, I wrote 3 apps today, 4,000 points. I got 6 recruits today. I did this, I did that. So everybody knows at all times where they're at. So, but somebody could play the role of licensing as well. That helps the new recruit when they're coming into the BOM and they're signing in. Have you finished your 52 hours? Not yet. Go see Mary. Have you scheduled your test set? Not yet. Go see Mary. And they go and see Mary, or they go and see Larry, or they go and see Billy, whoever it is, to get that licensing going as well. Point number 27. Point 27 is to have your team focused on tools. One of the things I learned very early on in my business is you can either try to do everything yourself, and not experience the fruits of your labor in this business, or you can build your business based on you working hard, but also building your business based on tools. Tools duplicate. You can only be in one place at a time. You can only do conference calls, but tools can be at hundreds of places at the same time. How many people can you sit down and teach a recruiting interview? Think about that. How many people one-on-one can you sit down and teach the recruiting interview? You can only do 1 per hour, right? Think about that for a moment. But how many people can you have watch that DVD to learn how to do recruiting interview? It's unlimited. Thousands can watch it at the same time. How many people can you teach Fast Start? But how many people can watch a Fast Start presentation? You see how this is working out, right? So tool intensive. I want everybody on the team to be on VoiceTell. If you're committed that you want to run that night when people are committing for their runs and sacrifices they're making, they got to be on VoiceTell. The next thing, the next perfect storm is a tool that our teams are going to be filled up on, to be given to each other, to be given to potential recruits. The next thing is marketing material. Look at all the marketing material and choose 3, 4, 5 of them that you want to use and get your guys to have the marketing materials. Proper applications, paperwork always being with them, right? Recordings you want your team to listen to in order to get in the right state of mind. By the way, each month there needs to be a certain book of or recording to listen to get everybody on the same page. It could be this recording over and over and over again. It could be somebody listening to how to go wide. It could be another person listening to leadership. And then the right book for everybody to read about victories. The right book to read on a run. Next point number 28. Let me simplify a lot of the business here for you. If you really think about the business, it's really 4 things you got to do with the business. It's simply 4 keys to success. I know I spoke about a lot of things here, but if you forget about everything, get at these 4 things, you're going to do pretty well in this business here. Number 1 is Fast Start School. Your goal is to get everybody into Fast Start School. That's your number 1 thing. The second thing you need to do after you get them into Fast Start School is to get them qualified for President's Club. The third thing you need to do is get them into PHP to graduate, and then from there, get them to join the MD Club. That's literally the business. Fast Start School, President's Club, PHP graduate, MD Club. If you do those 4 things, and you put a lot of people through those 4 things, you will eventually watch yourself having a team of hundreds, if not thousands of people there that are following the simple 4 systems of Fast Start School, President's Club, PHP, MD Club. There were a lot of people brighter than me. There were a lot of people smarter than me, but I kept it simple and I stuck to a few different messages. Fast Start, President's Club, PHP, MD Club. It'll take your business to a whole different level. So those are 4 messages to keep them out on the run. Next point, 29, leverage. Leverage matchup system. For some of you that are competitive, that you want to pass some of your competitors up, match up to catch up. Don't try to do all the appointments yourself. If you have 3 appointments and there's a new recruit that can set up the 4 appointments today or tomorrow, don't have them put it tomorrow for you to do it. Have somebody else go on those appointments today. Have one of your match up to catch up, one of your field trainers in the office that's solid. Maybe they're not even on your team. Have them go on that appointment. But don't just give the appointments to your people on your team, even though they're not getting results in the field. Make sure your new recruits are being duplicated by field trainers that know how to get results. For some that are listening to this and saying, wait a minute, what if my marketing director hears this and he implements this? Well, guess what? Go become a better field trainer. Go put some time into the DVDs. Go learn how to become a better salesman. That's a very simple skill you can learn. It's a decision you got to make. You become better and you'll get matchups is what you will get. But don't have a new recruit just be given appointments with somebody that's their license and say, well, I'm going to have this guy go license him. You're not going to duplicate a lot of strong field trainers. And it's important to get results. Leverage also your sideline leaders. Bring speakers at your office to train. Don't just be the person that has to give the message all the time. Have sideline leaders on conference calls. Leverage conference calls. Leverage iTunes. Leverage. You don't need to be the person that gives every single great answer to everything. Leverage the sidelines to give messages that your team needs to hear at that time. Point number 30. Point number 30 for me is one of the things that I've watched over the years, and I've watched from people in different worlds, and I see how, you watch Ronald Reagan in politics, how was he able to do it for such a long time and succeed? And you watch Michael Jordan, how was this guy able to have fun with it and do what he did? And you watch some of these actors that keep producing movie after movie after movie. You watch some of these performers that do very well. What is it? They learn how to have fun during the journey. They learn how to have fun during the journey. Success isn't a drag. The only reason success seems like it's a drag is because the leader is making success seem like a drag. I had a great time throughout the process here. Now, initially, I wasn't good at this. I thought it was no fun at all whatsoever. Let me tell you, it got to the point where office was playing music all the time. We were playing music, and some nights when we were closing out the run and people were there till late at night, people were dancing at the office. I'm talking, they put up music and they were dancing. They were singing. There was karaoke going. I know this stuff sounds crazy to you, but this is what they were doing. I said, oh, come on now. Nobody does things like this. Well, listen, Miami Heat recently made a video that was the Harlem Shake. Now, I don't know if you saw that video or not on YouTube. In the first 3 days, it got 75 million views. They won 2 championships, but they also know how to have fun. It gets the group together. It gets the team together. They know how to have fun together. So it's got to be on you. You never show hurt as a leader. Even though you may be going through challenges, struggles, whatever it is, make sure throughout the entire process you understand that there is always ways to have fun with this business. Doesn't mean get casual, doesn't mean get lazy, doesn't mean don't get focused, but make sure there's also fun involved. Point number 31, and we're about to wrap it up here with one other point after this is this. Work hard, but also celebrate like a champion with your run when you hit your promotion. So every time we hit a promotion, there was a celebration at the end of it. We recognized those who pushed till the very end. We partied very hard, and we talked about our next mountain we're going to climb. It wasn't always, we're there already. No, that's also a challenge. Sometimes, we made the playoffs. Let's celebrate. You haven't gone to the next round yet. We're, Western Conference champions. You haven't won a championship yet. So yes, you celebrate, but you talk about the next mountain. Yes, you celebrate, but you talk about the next 4 MDs. You celebrate, but you talk about the next SMD. You celebrate, but you talk about who's the next SVP, right? And this is what the great ones do. So 2 groups of people you got to recognize. One of my favorite saying is you got to pump up the collective, but never forget the individual. So on a team, you get a team promotion because of a lot of different people contributing. I mean, even the person that only does 1 recruit during the 90-day run, or 4 sales during the 90-day run, or they brought 5 guests during the 90-day run, they contributed towards your success. Even the person that was, getting all the accountabilities, they contributed towards the success, right? But there's always during a run a handful of people that contributed more than everybody else. Those guys must be turned into heroes and rock stars. And let me say something to you. When a team wins the championships, a lot of people get rings, but the starting 5 makes it on the cover of the paper the next day. The starting 5. And the starting 5 is who you're looking for in your base shop. The starting 5 is who I'm looking for the entire company right now. Obviously, the 1 person becomes the 50% entire company. 1 person in the company is going to have 50% entire licensed agents. That's typically how it works. But we're looking for a starting 5. And it starts off with you first making a decision to be in the starting 5 part of your office, being the starting 5 part of your base shop. Even if the base shop you're part of is small, you become the player to recognize that city. Think about some of these players that go into a city that's a no-name city. They make that city happen. They don't say, I can't believe I'm part of this base shop. I can't believe I'm part of this office. I can't believe I'm here by myself. I wish I was, if I was on this team. No, they say, I'm the leader. We're going to make this happen. We're going to become that voice. We're going to get recognized. The company's going to talk about us on the conference call. We're going to go out there and do something that's never been done before. I want to hear our names on the conference call. Those are the guys you're looking for. Those are the guys you're looking for that go out there and do something about it. And that could be you. And that could be your office. So you celebrate as a champion, but also at the same time, there's something about being part of the starting 5. So the last point I'll give you here is point number 32, before I give my final message to you, is this. When you go on a 90-day run, you're going on a 90-day run. You're not going on a 63-day run. This is not an 89-day run. This is a 90-day run. So if by the end of the 90-day run you don't get the results, it's probably because you didn't run for 90 days. Most people can run for 30 days. Most people can try to stay focused for 30 days. Most people cannot stay focused for a year. But almost everybody, if they really put their attention to it, they can go 90 days. But don't get distracted during that 90-day run. So if you say, this didn't work for me, probably because you didn't go for 90 days. But how come it didn't happen for me? You probably didn't finish every month strong. You got to close out the month strong. End of the month, people got to be there at the office late, closing results, coming in, appointments. There got to be that closeout mentality. And it's going to be many times you're not going to believe you can hit your promotion. There's going to be many times in your 45 day of your run where you kind of want to throw in the towel. But that's where champions are born. There's going to be times you're going to say, I don't think we can hit it. That's when a person is born, when a leader is born. Those are the people, but it's important for you to remember it's a 90-day run, not 30, 60 days. When I ask you from the beginning and I challenge you to be serious about this, I told you, this is not something that's just hoping and wishful thinking. If you're serious, this could change your life. So here's a question I have for you. When's the last time you gave everything you had to one thing? I'm not talking about faith and family. A lot of times, I remember I was told early on in my business, too many times people use faith and family as an excuse to not win big. But I'm talking about career-wise. When's the last time you gave everything you had to one thing? Was it back in high school? When's the last time? What is your track record? Do you go to the very end or do you give up? Have you quit many times? Are you kind of like me, where you have a track record of quitting on many things in your life? Are you finally at a point where you kind of want to make a decision and say, I am no longer going to give up. I'm going to go till the very end. I'm going to draw the line right here. This is it. I'm done with. But when's the last time you gave up? You gave everything you had to one thing. I had one of those thoughts one day when I went home and I said, wait a minute, if my dad dies tonight because of all the financial stress he has, I will own this for the rest of my life. Why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just go give everything I got for something to win big for my family? Why wouldn't I do that? Why would I not give that up? Why would I not go out there and work my butt off to win for my family? Well, and then you have some times where you question and see if you're somebody that thinks this. Do you believe that maybe it's not possible for somebody to have a great business life and a family life? Or are you just kind of using that as an excuse to not go out there and win? There's many times we say, well, you know you can't be rich and happy. You ever heard that before? Rich people are not happy. Rich people don't have good marriages. Do you think like that? Is that excuses that have been told to you by maybe other people in your family and friends? Or is it something where deep down inside you're sitting here right now saying, you know what? I'm so sick of it. I'm just so tired. I am flat out tired of making excuses. And I want to go in big. Because you know what it is if you don't do that? You're pretty much telling yourself that you are okay with the last day of your life knowing you never found out about your potential. And this could be your chance here. My goodness, this could be your chance. This could be your chance for you to just go out there and say, man, I'm so proud. I finally did it. Win big. How many doubters do you have in your life that are waiting for you to quit? Think about those names. How many people are just waiting for you to call and say, well, this really didn't work out for me? For them to say, oh, well, that kind of business. You made the right choice. But deep down inside, you know what they're thinking about? Oh, what a quitter. We knew you were going to quit. Are you okay with that? You want to go out there and prove some people wrong. Maybe you're going to go out there and prove yourself right. Man, I want to make some big money. Why not make $100,000 per year? Why not make $250,000 per year? Why not get to $500,000, $1 million? And for some of you, multi-7-figure year income. Why not make $5 million a year? Why not make $10 million a year? Why not? Why not build a big army of people who are going out there winning big, and you contributed somewhat to their success? You got the new guy that came in that doubted this business. His wife doubted this business. Boom, they just made $180,000 a year. And the most money they ever made was $30,000. You got somebody that was on the verge of quitting. You kept them in. You inspired them. And they just made $670,000. And they tell it from stage that I almost quit, but my leader kept me in. Yeah, there's so many of these things that you think about. I mean, just imagine walking on stage with your promotion. Imagine walking on stage and you got your MD promotion. You're speaking and you're telling your story. Your wife, your mother, your kids are on the stand in the audience and they're watching and they're in tears crying because they're so proud of you. Your kid sees you in front of thousands of people saying, my dad's my hero. Your name's being mentioned. Why not? Don't you think it's time that happened to you? See, my hope is with you listening to this message that you actually took notes throughout the entire time. My hope is you're right now sitting by yourself somewhere. Maybe your kids are asleep and you have your earpiece in your ear and you're listening to it, taking notes, and you can't go to sleep because you're so excited about life. Because let me tell you, when you do make the decision to go from the amateur, when you do make a decision from treating this like a hobby, like a casual person who's hoping this works out, to becoming a pro, everything changes. Everything changes. People treat you different. People look at you different. Clients look at you different. Your team looks at you different. Your family looks at you different. They see the fact that you've made a decision to be serious. And I hope you have made a serious decision to implement what we've talked about here for the 90-day run. So the next time you and I talk to each other, is at a convention on stage. You walking past me saying, Pat, I listened to that recording and I promised myself I was going to come up to you on stage and tell you, I told you I'm going to hit MD. I told you I'm going to get to SMD. I told you I'm going to be a chairman's council. I listened to that recording and I'm serious. And I'm serious. You look at me in the eyes and you give me a high five and we celebrate and you say, Pat, I'm a serious leader. And as good and excited as I'm going to be for you, you'll be 100 times more excited for yourself for having made that decision. So my challenge to you, make the decision, go from being an amateur, go from treating this as a hobby, to being a pro.